Welcome to Insightly. I'm Melissa McGinn.
And I'm Jordan Walker. We're your hosts on a mission to empower executives and business leaders with the knowledge they need to turn data into a driving force for innovation. Join us every episode as we share real-world case studies and provide practical tips to unlock the full potential of your business through data and analytics.
So if you're ready to transform your relationship with data, hit that subscribe button, because in the world of business, insight is power.
Welcome back,
everyone. It's Friday.
Woo-woo!
Maybe not for you guys listening to this.
Yeah.
It's not Friday, but for us.
At this point in time, it is Friday and it is the end of August, which means that
the best season is upon us.
Oh, you're a fall gal,
yes,
are you?
100%.
Yeah. I like fall. I'm also a spring girl, but my birthday's in the spring,
Me
so
too,
I might be a little biased.
I just feel like the cool weather is nicer in the fall. I'm a huge football fan. That's also why. And Oktoberfest.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, just like the best things happen in the fall. So,
well, you know what's been going on lately that also just makes me think of like end of summer and fall. The Olympics.
The Olympics.
So at this point in time, the Olympics just ended a couple weeks ago, but as of this week, the Paralympics got kicked off. And so we're all back into it again, you know, Team USA, like I'm all about.
Are they in the same place?
Okay. Yeah. So the Paralympics is happening in Paris.
Okay.
They had their ceremony on Wednesday night. Last night, I was really getting into the rugby competition, wheelchair rugby. It is intense. It was so much fun to watch.
Wow.
So depending on when you listen to this, like I think that you could go back and stream some of the sports, but definitely go back and watch. Like all of these athletes are tremendous. Like, anywho, but that is actually what I want to talk about today. So as we've been getting into the Olympics, I started thinking about how is data used in the Olympics, which kind of led me down a couple of different rabbit holes that I wanted to bring up to you today.
I'm ready for it.
So the first thing that I started uncovering is just how data is being utilized for Olympic athlete training. And so one of the Olympic training facilities is in Colorado Springs. And I read an article from Scientific American that was detailing how this facility uses data to help simulate conditions for athletes. So here's an example. One, a lot of data is utilized for athlete monitoring. So, of course, and we see this in a lot of professional sports where athletes are monitored for their performance, but also for their recovery time.
Yeah.
And that's really important, especially if you're, a swimmer, a sprinter, those are pretty intense, 2-minute, excursions that you're doing, and your body needs time to recover before you go back after it again. Oh gosh.
Not to mention
getting just knocked down and thrown across a field. Yeah. The way that data is being used is not just to monitor, we all have our watches and our Fitbits and whatnot now, but it's also utilizing AI to provide results within 30 seconds to tell you how you can immediately optimize. Maybe it's you need to optimize your posture. Or maybe it's if you're a sprinter, lifting your foot in just a way so that you kick off faster from the block.
Crazy.
And so it's being utilized to help you get that extra fraction of human performance that you might need to win. And so if you think about in the Olympics when Noah Lyles won the 100 by
nothing
milliseconds, that right there, within his training, they are monitoring performance that way so that he can do these incremental shifts to get that extra little boost right when you need it.
So how are they gathering that data?
So they do have the typical watches and stuff that we all have. A lot of the software is very similar to what you can get at a Best Buy. Have your Garmin watch or something like that.
Okay.
But what they're doing is they're also monitoring the environment that you're in. So they're taking, what does the wind condition look like right now? What is the altitude level right now? And all of those kind of things. They're bringing all of these data points into one spot and letting artificial intelligence then say, okay, the drag was this, your aerodynamics are that, this is what needs to improve.
Wow.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know.
So will they start to gather the environmental data?
I am so glad you asked. Because
we didn't plan this.
So the other way that they're using data and artificial intelligence in the Colorado Springs facility is for conditioning. The example that they gave, so they have a high altitude training center that you're able to adjust the humidity, the temperature, and the altitude so that you can compete like you are in that place. You're preparing for Beijing 4 years ago, very different climate, very different altitude. They were able to adjust the whole space that you're competing in. Doesn't matter if you're a sprinter, a tennis player, a swimmer, like you can get conditioned. So yeah, like now they're going to be preparing for LA. They're going to adjust that. And then along with that athlete monitoring of their performance, they can start making those incremental shifts. So then when they get there, they can literally use their, couple days of training time before the event to just like hone in on what they need.
Is this new? Like for this Olympics?
So this article, at least from the High Altitude Training Center, they referenced Beijing training. Okay. So, I mean, it's been around at least since that Olympics 4 years ago. I'm not quite sure how long it is, but knowing how quickly the data and artificial intelligence has really evolved over the last 5 years, I'm sure there have been a lot of improvements over that. As I was going down that rabbit hole, though, I ended up discovering something super cool. Did you know that the International Olympics Committee, or the IOC, whatever it's called, they have an AI agenda for the Olympics?
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a whole section on their website about it. They've got a video, they've got FAQs, you can read the whole policy.
Because they're assuming that it could give some sort of unfair competitive advantages.
So it has a lot of different facets to it. It's not, so the latest version that came out is a 5-year plan that launched in 2020.
Okay.
In 2020, if you'll remember, the Olympics got delayed until 2021 because of COVID.
Yeah.
And even then, no audiences could show up other than the athletes. So that was like that was the first Olympics where we pretty much had to figure out how do we get fans engaged digitally. So that is when they really started thinking about like, how do we use AI to also bring a fan experience through like a TV screen or something. It's developed in partnership with what's called the AI Working Group, which is basically like a consortium of AI professionals in academia, athletics, technology companies, that sort of thing from around the globe.
Okay.
And there's a few reasons why they have it. One is what you just mentioned, because we just talked about how data and AI is being utilized in athletic training. They're keeping an eye on that to understand how can that maybe give you an unfair advantage over maybe some other countries and players that don't have those opportunities to compete.
Seems like a mess waiting to happen.
Right. So far, it's been fine.
Okay.
But then the reason why they have an AI agenda is for a few reasons, like one, using AI to optimize event operations. So thinking transportation, especially when we're going to be in LA in 2028, like better start optimizing that 405 right now, right? So using it to, help with transportation logistics, workforce training, like it takes so many people to put on this event. So like utilizing AI to help with like scenario training, because like you don't get a trial for this unless you've worked at one of the like world games or something leading up to this. So a lot of these people are coming in from like maybe their, smaller athletic experience to then, go to the largest event ever.
Yeah.
Ticket sales and logistics are a part of that, how to make that easier for people.
And we all know that Ticketmaster has had its fair share of problems.
Yes.
And I don't know if you heard this, but Oasis that sang Wonderwall like announced that they're getting back together. And they were like, Ticketmaster is going to crumble.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's, especially with the Olympics being in the U.S.
Yeah.
Like that's a big thing to consider.
Yeah. And again, like with it being in LA, which is not exactly a easy city to like get around with like public transportation and things like that. It'll be interesting how they use AI for that. I will now be looking at the LA Olympics, I think a little bit differently in 4 years to see how that
I wonder if they're going to build like models for forecasting and predictive analytics from like historical Olympic data.
I would think, especially with it being utilized in Paris currently, like they would at least be able to have that as an example for what could be, because I mean, Paris has had so many sold out events and whatnot. And the Paralympics are even selling out events, which is awesome.
Right.
That it's getting the attention that it deserves this time around. Refereeing and judging is another way that we're seeing AI come in. If anyone watched the Olympics, one way that this comes into play are things like the electric line calling in tennis, where, you know, being able to absolutely know if the ball was in or out of bounds. They're using it in gymnastics to, like, I mean, when you're watching like Simone Biles, you know, do any of those moves, when they're rattling off, she just did 6 moves in one. I'm like, I just saw one big blur, you know? Like, I just saw flying. Yeah, that was it.
Exactly.
So now they're able to actually use artificial intelligence to see all of the different like rotations, and especially with an athlete like Simone, who has to get judged on a much higher level because she's at a higher level,
right.
They have to use it to actualize her scores so that it is more of an even playing field for like, okay, yeah, she might be busting out all of these moves, but is she hitting the skills as well as others are hitting the skills?
And they can't see that with the human eye.
Yeah, I mean, you could have like 10 different people, you know, looking at it, but when it becomes like subjective on that line, so it will help with like refereeing and judging. And then I mentioned this a second ago, but really trying to figure out ways to enhance that spectator experience. And so I noticed this year I've seen a lot more like graphic representations of moves that have been performed, or to be able to see, like, rather than just watching the replay of the swimmers, let's say they're doing more of these like animated to show you how like the water is moving and how they're like getting through. So it's giving you a different perspective than just that, you know, 30 seconds of playtime that you just witnessed, which is, I think, turning us into even more super fans than we were before.
Which I'm assuming that even though people can go to the Olympics, there will be so many people consuming it digitally that, especially with it being in America 2028, it's like, I probably won't go. No,
I'm not going to try. No.
Right? But like, and there's going to be so many people around the world who are going to consume it digitally. And I'm assuming that's the unlock, right? Is like, how can they make this the thing to watch and experience and people are talking about?
Yeah. And I would assume a lot of the articles that I read also referenced how this is not just being used in the Olympics, but the World Cup has been utilizing, you know, artificial intelligence to help with judging and refereeing and things. We see it happening at the World Games as well. I would assume that, you know, the NFL here in the States,
that's what I was gonna say.
If we I quit going down my rabbit hole at this point, but now I'm just super interested in seeing how is this evolving in the sports world, for better or for worse.
I mean, as soon as it's like Olympics does it, when is it going to be a baseline for just like what people come to expect?
Yeah.
Especially for like judging and refereeing, even calls in the NFL where it's like, that could ruin a game. It's like based on a human making that decision.
But at the same time, isn't that what makes it fun?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how this like enhances or takes away from some of the rivalry that
you can't boo AI.
Yeah,
you can't say,
I would rather boo. Okay, so that is our Olympics rabbit hole. I'm curious if anybody, you know, has a thought or if you've noticed how data is being utilized in some fun areas like sports that you would like us to dig into. One, we love to do that, and we'd love to hear what your ideas are. So email us at hello@insightlypodcast.com.
Catch you later.